Hi, I'm Steve Adubato. Once again, we're joined by our good friend Tom Bergeron, who's the owner and editor of ROI-NJ, our media partner. By the way, check out ROI-NJ for what, Tom? Tell folks where they can find.
Daily news and information, ROI-NJ.com. Get our print publication, get our email newsletter, all that good stuff.
All right, enough plugging. Let's get into business, all right? So, Tom, we're taping on the 22nd of October. As people who watch our programming know, we don't try to be timely. We try to look big picture, issues, policy, trends. The most pressing issues on the back end of 2020 going into 2021 in New Jersey, obviously first, COVID.
100%, and how it impacts the business world and everything around it.
Okay, so how much is the business world impacted by the every day, every hour decisions made by state government policymakers, the most significant being Governor Murphy? Is that primarily what's influencing the business economy?
That's a huge part. And Steve, before I start, let me just jump in here. I know that we tape this at different times, but I would be remiss not to mention your father, Big Steve, who recently passed away. And listen, accolades came from all corners of the state to talk about the impact that he had in Newark and on so many people. But as a parent like you, I think all parents would want to be judged by the success and the character of their children, and knowing the type of man you are and your sisters are. I think the old man would say that's his greatest legacy. So I salute him and your mother for the fine work that he did.
Thank you, Tom.
So that being said, let's talk about the business of the state. Look, the biggest issue right now for all businesses is just trying to stay afloat, and it's a real catch-22. The businesses need a little bit. They need some government help, some more than others, to stay afloat. And the catch is, if they don't get it from the government, then the government's going to have to pay their employees in furlough and unemployment and all different types of things. So finding that balancing act is the real test for the state government, for the federal government. Murphy is looking to get more money from the feds. Who knows how that's going to play out, or has played out as we watch this today. Keeping these businesses afloat and keeping employees getting paid is the biggest thing that'll impact everything.
We don't do politics, we don't do horse race, but there is a presidential election. As we do this program will be seen before and after. Either Joe Biden will be the president-elect, or President Trump will continue as president for another 4 years. How much of what goes on with the quote-unquote business community in New Jersey and our region, but primarily New Jersey, will be influenced, in your view, Tom Bergeron, by who becomes our president?
Well, again, it's a little and a lot depending on the things that you talk about. If Joe Biden comes in, if the Democrats take control of the House, if in theory they take control of everything on the one hand, you will say they will be able to push through more measures and break through some of the log jams of Washington. Now, is that going to help the business community or hurt the business community? Is that going to mean more incentives that are coming and more aid, or is it going to mean more regulation and more taxation? So at any election, not just this one, at any level, there's always a hesitation of the business community to see how it works out. And no matter how you and I can talk about how we think it would be under a Trump administration, second term, or a Biden administration, until it happens, you don't know. So the business community, always, you'll see it a couple months before they start to take a pause. They start to say, okay, let's play our bets on both sides. Let's see how it's going to go. And the other part of this that people don't realize, the election is November, but the inauguration is in January. So no matter what happens, you still have 3 months of who knows what's going to happen and get pushed through or not pushed through. So the business community needs help from the government, but if they're looking for that to be their entire help, then they're going to be hurt, because they know they need to take care of themselves, and they know that.
If you're checking us out on the audio end, Steve Adubato here remotely with our good friend and media colleague, Tom Bergeron, who's the owner and editor of ROI-NJ. Check them out. So it's interesting. As we do this program, most recent poll that came out, credible poll, lots of polls out there, talk about Governor Murphy, around a 60% approval rating. Approval ratings for governors, particularly New Jersey, very ephemeral, if I can use that word.
Absolutely. Listen, and those ratings are worth the hour that they come out. After events change that are going to impact everything that happens. So Right now, people like Murphy. They generally feel he's done a good job stemming the tide. But again, as the economy goes, as more things go, we haven't got into the school districts and how that happens and whether our kids can get to school safely and whether they should be. There can be, as we found out in March, there can be an overnight outbreak of something that quickly changes everything.
But excuse me, Tom, is what happens in our schools, and we have 3 school-age children, there are millions out there right now who are wondering, worrying, hybrid, all at home, school, in school, whatever. You put that on Governor Murphy and the decisions that he and the Department of Education make?
Well, this is the catch. In a sense, he's done a good job of trying to push that to the local level and saying that each district can decide. My district has 2 schools. One right now is closed. The other one's on hybrid. It's great that we can go to the local level. But you and I both know in a big picture situation, as we talk, a second wave may or may not be coming. People are going to look to the governor for overriding leadership on these issues, looking for them to make one big decision as he did last spring, which a lot of people liked and a lot of people didn't like. So like it or not, it's good to put decisions in local officials, but ultimately, look, the minute something goes wrong, they're going to go to the highest level and blame that person or credit that person if times are good, as they're doing right now.
Tom, real quick, got a minute left. I want to ask you this. Governor Murphy has tremendous executive powers right now. Many in the legislature, including the Senate President Steve Sweeney, check our interview out with him, are saying, hey, listen, we're an equal branch of government, along with the judiciary. Pull us in more. In a crisis, a pandemic, should the chief executive, in this case, Governor Murphy, be the primary decision maker, or how collaborative can he really be in a crisis like this?
It's fair for him in the beginning of the crisis to be the chief decision maker. We need to make decisions fast and quick. It's been 6 months. He needs to bring more people in.
And more than that, as we watch this, go ahead.
Yeah, he needs to bring more people in. Listen, not just his party, but the other party. No elected official would argue that it should be one-man rule or one-party rule. It would help to get more opinions in there. We've talked before about diversity of opinions, how much that helps things. Right now, it's one-man rule. I don't know that we're in the ultimate crisis situation that we faced in March and April. He needs to give up some power, but if he does, he'll be the first elected official to do so.
Yeah, you've been listening to, and by the way, check out Tom Bergeron and his team at ROI-NJ. He's the owner, he's the editor, one of our media partners to fully disclose. Hey, Tom, thank you once again for joining us and putting things in perspective. All the best to you and your family and the ROI-NJ team.
My pleasure. Anytime. Happy to come back whenever you need me.
You got it. I'm Steve Adubato, and we'll be back right after this.
State of Affairs with Steve Adubato is a production of the Caucus Educational Corporation. Funding has been provided by the Turrell Fund, supporting Reimagine Childcare, PNC, Grow Up Great, the Healthcare Foundation of New Jersey, the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation, New Jersey Board of Public Utilities, Clean Energy Program, PSE&G, the New Jersey Economic Development Authority, NJM Insurance Group, and by University Hospital. Promotional support provided by CIA-NJ and Commerce Magazine, and by Jaffe Communications.
I'm Tim Sullivan, CEO of the New Jersey Economic Development Authority. Since joining the NJEDA, I've been struck by the incredible assets and resources that New Jersey has to offer. The NJEDA is working every day to grow New Jersey's economy in a way that maximizes the values of those assets to benefit every single New Jersey resident. This includes more support for small businesses and a focus on reclaiming New Jersey's position as a leader in the innovation economy. Visit njeda.com to learn more about how NJEDA is building a stronger and fairer New Jersey economy.